Hey everyone, welcome back to the Nuance Needed podcast. This is Sam with a quick little intro before we get into the episode. So today's episode, I got the incredible opportunity to interview Amanda Nelson from the account Amanda's Mild Takes. I have referenced her many times over the last year or so since the election when we've done episodes on political leaning stuff, the concerns you guys have brought to us about the current political climate in the United States and things that are going on with that. And I reached out to her and she very kindly agreed to come talk to us because I feel like her mission in the content that she posts about and the way she presents things is so aligned with what Amanda and I try to stress, which is nuance, perspective, insight, just a general sense of reflection as opposed to reaction, and a sense of empowerment as well at the end of the day, that you feel you have, you know, the tools and the insights that you need to take on life in a way that feels more aligned with the person you want to be and the person that you feel that you are. Now, the reason I'm giving this update is because this is a politics heavy episode. We really go into the weeds a lot and we have a really incredible conversation. I think there's a lot of amazing insights in here. However, I also want to be sensitive to the fact that maybe you don't want to listen to that. So you don't have to listen to this. We are doing another episode on Thursday, kind of a quick follow-up. So yeah, if you want to listen to me and Amanda's Mild Takes, dive into some political things and talking about how you can really cope with things today and how to have perspective with things that are going on and that's happening, awesome. And if this episode isn't for you, please skip to the next one or listen to any of the other amazing episodes that we've had. So with that being said, if you chose to stay, get ready. This is an incredible conversation. And here's the episode. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Nuance Needed podcast. This is Sam Dalton. And today I am joined by the one and only Amanda's Mild Takes. Woo!
Hello.
Hi. Now, I know Mild Takes is not your last name. So
No.
what is your first and last name?
Amanda Nelson.
Amanda Nelson.
Nice to join you all.
So today, there are obviously a million and one things that I ideally would love to pick your brain about and talk to you about. However, I think what we were barely scratching the surface of before we hit record is the fact that nuance is deeply unsexy.
Mm-hmm.
And people are not interested in nuance. And we just we love your approach. We've done multiple emergency therapy podcast sessions for certain things that have happened over the last 10 months. And your account was always one that I suggested that people turn to.
Oh, thank you.
If they were melting down. So with all of that said, I would love to know, and I know you've posted about this at different times and spoken about it, but I think just in one cogent moment, if you could just give your background and your story and how your account came to be and what motivated you to do that. I would love to hear all that.
Well, I have a history degree, and that's what I went to school for. I have no professional experience in politics whatsoever, or in historical academics. I'm not a professor or anything like that, but I have been in politics or politics adjacent for many, many years. I've been volunteering with the DNC in my community to help get people elected, just in the ways people do, canvassing, sending, texting, whatever. I am on the comms committee of my local DNC in my county. I was an abortion clinic escort for many years. So things like that, just kind of getting in the scrum and doing what I could over time. And then after this last election, I had a TikTok account that I did not ever post anything on, that I used to look at cats doing funny things and pushing shit off tables. But then the night of the inauguration, Elon Musk did his salute, and I was like, okay, that's it.
Yeah.
I cannot. So I went on TikTok and I just made fun of him a little bit about it. And that was not the reaction that most people on the left were having. Most people on the left were having a really panicked, understandable.
Right. Yeah.
But there was a big reaction to me making fun of Elon Musk, people, I think, found a lot of, I don't know, like relief in the idea that he wasn't a thing that we needed to necessarily be terrified of, but that we could have some power over. And then I realized in that moment, like looking around at all the other creators out there who were spinning up after the inauguration, that it was so much fear-based content. And I'm not saying that it's on purpose, but I'm not saying that some of it isn't on purpose. So I thought there's no one really having a conversation about like how we got here as a country and how there is such vast history in America of us doing exactly these same things before.
Right.
But we have very short attention spans, and it was too long ago and people don't remember or haven't lived through it or whatever. And also there's just no context or nuance being offered to anyone, and no one is coming at this conversation about how do we get through this from a position of power. They're all coming at it from a position of fear. So I'm going to do something with that. And so I did, and it blew up. And I, now this is my full-time job. Wow. I quit my job and I just do this now.
Well, thank God.
I mean, I wish it was under better circumstances.
Right.
But here we are.
Right. I didn't realize that was, I knew obviously like you had a history background, but that you were so involved locally. I mean, in a lot of ways, it's not surprising, like seeing your content and the way you frame things and the way you talk about things. But I would imagine like that boots on the ground approach, you can't help but have like a reality-based mindset when you come from that space.
Yeah. I mean, and you also have more perspective on like, the loss wasn't terribly surprising. I mean, it was upsetting, of course. And
Absolutely.
I was devastated, as we all were, but it wasn't because of what I was hearing when I was out, doing whatever, like making phone calls and stuff, that like people were upset about inflation and they were pinning it on Harris. And there was nothing that she was going to do to get out from under that in the 100 days or whatever that she had. So in a lot of ways, I mean, we can get into this later, but like action is the most effective antidote to anxiety. And so as people were out there like panicking and spinning out after the inauguration, I was kind of like, well, yeah.
Yeah, I really appreciate that take, one, because I say all the time in my content that action is the antidote to anxiety. So I think I feel like very aligned to that. And I think, going back to what you said about kind of like the shock and awe when the election results came in, I think for those of us that were paying attention, it wasn't a surprise. But I think for me, I was wrapped up in that little algorithmic blue bubble silo that made me think like, yeah, this is going to happen. And I think a lot of our audience was as well.
I don't think that's wrong though. Like, I don't think that's necessarily a mistake, because I was talking to like my friends and my Instagram followers leading up to the election, which was, just like, again, my friends, like people I've known in real life, about how hopeful I was that she could pull it out, and even if I didn't think that that's actually what was going to happen, or even if I was starting to suspect like maybe this isn't what's going to happen, I stayed on the hope train until the bitter end. And I don't think that's wrong or bad. I think that hope is motivational, and it kept me going until 11 p.m. on election night when I realized that it wasn't going to happen. And I don't regret. I think a lot of people, we've seen I have at least seen a big spike in like cynicism right now, like nihilism over and all of this. And I think a lot of that just comes from a place of being afraid of being disappointed again, and not wanting to hope, because what if it doesn't work out and then I'm sad again? And I understand that, but I don't think that's the right way to approach it. I think that it's always worth it to be hopeful and to be disappointed, because you're not going to save yourself from the pain. Like, the pain of a bad outcome is going to come whether you had hope before or not. You're just more miserable to be around when you're cynical.
You're just ruining every day instead of a day. Now you're just a rain cloud, and nobody likes you. Yeah.
We don't need more of that.
No. I also, something that we also do on here a lot is I do talk a lot about history. I have all the clinical experience in the world, and I am a huge like history buff hobbyist. So we could really get into the weeds here. But the reason I bring that up is because I think the word here, even when we're talking about like this idea of like perspective, which I think is kind of like the larger 30,000 foot word. Perspective is like super triggering because it's vulnerable. right? Just exactly as you were saying of how people are, this cynicism and this nihilism is like this coping skill to try to be like, well, we're cooked and it's over, so we might as well figure out how to live under a collapsed government.
Failed state, yeah.
Yeah, failed state.
Well, I go to Costco, like, okay.
I know, yeah. And so what we've tried to do on the pod a lot is like I've tried to refer back to history quite frequently. And this is my roundabout way of bringing up, and I really want to know your thoughts on this. I think people are sometimes so deeply surprised about how far America has fallen short of her intended vision.
From the beginning.
From the beginning. Like from day one. Like
Yes.
day one. And Thomas Jefferson was like, yeah, this is it.
Fine. Yeah.
We're like 500 years from this being a thing, but I want to write it down.
The historical education in America is a bit lacking. And where it does exist, it is often quite propagandized.
Yes.
It is just true that we have never lived up to the promises of our foundational documents. That doesn't mean that the foundational documents aren't worth trying to live up to. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of one of my like theses, I guess, in my account is that America is worth believing in because
yes.
equality for every citizen under the law is a worthwhile and valuable ideal. And also, we have never literally ever a single day done it that way. Not ever. And I think a lot of the doom that's out there on the internet amongst liberals is coming from people who have never really had to look at that before.
Correct.
Because if you are an indigenous person in this country, you have been fighting authoritarian government moves for 400 years. If you are a Black person in this country, same. You know, the first Black people were brought against their will to America in 1619 and have been struggling against. People don't like when I call it authoritarianism, but what else is it if you have no rights, if the government won't let you read or keep possession of your children or marry who you want? That is authoritarian. But now, I mean, not to put too fine a point on it, white people are having to experience it and look at it all the time because we have a 24-hour news cycle. And of course, Trump is not like same old, same old. I'm not saying that.
Right.
I'm saying he is the worst of everything America has ever been in one impulsive toddler of a president. It's just that because that is the case, because the volume and the scale is so big, it's hard to avoid having to look at it. And so many Americans have avoided ever having to look at the reality of what America is and has done in the past, because now she's doing it on cable TV.
Right. And doing it to everybody.
Everyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was talking this morning with my partner about like the tariffs, because we were actually talking about this idea, this concept that now that authoritarian policies are happening to white people, it's like panic.
Yeah.
And I was talking about how the tariffs are functionally that, like, it's wide scale redlining, which is a thing that, you know, the Black population has dealt with for a generation. But now we have a regressive tax policy purposefully designed to keep the middle class from ever getting into any better of a financial situation. That is a countrywide redlining policy. And it's things like that where, like, I think a lot of people just aren't used to being directly attacked by their government. And it feels very new and weird and bad because it is bad.
It is. It's awful and it's terrifying and it's horrifying. And I think this is why I, like, even on a professional level with so many of my clients, like I was seeing clients at 9 a.m. the day after the election.
Oh, yeah. God.
I think what I've always tried to remind people is exactly that. Like, so much of what is happening isn't new. It's just the scale. Mm-hmm. It's the broad stroke to which it's happening. It's the brazenness.
Yeah.
It's the full-chested, bold-stated, this is happening and everybody has to deal with it because one person has an idea.
Mm-hmm.
And we've just gotten really lucky in 249 years that everybody just decided to kind of abide by the honor system.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that even some presidents who maybe wish they could have been Trump in some ways were like, well, I can't because of democracy and the Constitution. But we just have a person that doesn't care about those things and doesn't care about how his actions, to like boil it all the way down, he doesn't care about how his actions impact people. he thinks he has a good idea, and thus it's the only idea that's ever been had.
Yeah, and coming up alongside of him is an entire political party that no longer cares about any of that either. And I would argue that didn't really start with him. That I blame Newt Gingrich. Newt Gingrich is my nemesis.
Your ground zero.
Yes, yes, he really is. I could rant about that all day. But yeah, the Republican Party has been on a path for probably 20 years now of disregarding democratic norms in pursuit of power and authority. And I think that's why they cowed so quickly to Trump, because he was the vehicle by which they realized, like, oh, that's how we're going to get everything that we want. And they were right.
Which is essentially, I find it so funny because I feel like they don't want things. They want to remove things.
Yeah.
Like there's no interest in like actually adding other than tariffs. Mathematically, tariffs are adding. But I think what is so upsetting to people is, and going back to what you said about kind of like the propagandized nature of like history education, I think having been to high school and college through like, the aughts and the tens, there was kind of this belief, especially with the election of President Obama, that like, we did it.
Mm-hmm.
we did it, guys. Like everything's really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what's so painful is we were seeing progress on human rights. We were seeing progress on things. We were seeing, gay marriage was implemented in the final year of Obama's presidency. And, I think there was still this insane level of hope. And like, oh, these things would never happen here. These are things that happen other places. And which like, again, it's always happened here. Like, there has always, we literally rounded up the entirety of the Japanese American population
in
1941 and put them in camps in the desert. Like that got glossed over in school. That was kind of but we were nice to them. Sure. Like what else were we going to do? That's kind of like that's like the vibe.
You had no choice.
We have to oppress people.
'Tis in our nature, I fear.
Tis literally in our nature. So this is like my long roundabout way of getting to, I think what's happening in this country, even from like a therapeutic perspective, and I have my hunches about that I could get into, but I really want to hear from you. Like, what do you think is this like resistance to the concept of hope and the resistance to perspective and the idea that we could, if we tried hard enough, recover from this in some form?
Well, I think it's a lot of things. I think that it is partially a need to be right.
Mm-hmm.
Because for 100 days when we were running Kamala's campaign, the message was, if he is elected, democracy is over. And now that he's elected, if democracy doesn't end, then we were wrong.
Hey.
And nobody wants to be wrong. And I don't think we were wrong. But I also don't think democracy is doomed forever. No. I think it is very obviously under attack. But that's the nature of right-wing populism. So it's a little bit of that. I think it's I hate to say it, but I do think it's a little bit of resistance to needing to do work. Because what I hear a lot of is like, I just want to go back to when things were normal. I just want to go back to when I didn't have to pay attention. Like when Biden was president, I didn't have to pay attention to the news. I didn't have to. Yeah, that's part of the problem is that good people don't pay attention. Good people don't keep their foot on the gas. The democracy requires hypervigilance. It is an ever-degrading system, especially when you live in like an oligarchical country like ours. But it is ever-degrading. And every election matters. Every school board seat matters. Every board of supervisor, sheriff, it all matters. And we really wish that it didn't, because we have to get our kids to soccer and we have to meal prep for the week and we have to work 60 hours, to like pay our electric bill. And like everything is so much all the time. And the idea that now Trump is in office and we have to save the fucking country. Like, my kid has started school this week. Like I got to go to Old Navy. It's just another thing, which I get. I get. But if you have hope, then that means you don't have a choice but to work to make that a reality. on top of everything else.
That exhaustion, I think, can be directly tied to the collapse of community.
Yes. Yeah.
Like the collapse of the village. And I think that was in collapse, for lack of a better term, even far before COVID happened. I think COVID kind of like solidified the roots of us just kind of escaping to our little homes and these little silos and being completely online and feeling like we have the illusion of connection and community and understanding. And yeah, I think what I find too, even with my therapy clients and with the content that I put out and the way, you know, people will DM me and the things I talk about, yeah, there is this sense of like, I have to do this too. Like I have to do this too. Like I have to rebuild my mental health from this insanely traumatic global event.
Yeah.
On top of everything else that happened in and continues to happen in my day-to-day life. And now I have to do this alone.
That is how people feel. And I get of two, depending on how tired I am in the day. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, well, you're not on a bridge in Selma getting fire hosed by the cops. So shut up. Suck it up. And like, you know, like no one's sicked a dog on you yet. Well, yeah. But you know what I mean? Like you're not getting strung up in a tree. I kind of don't want to hear it. But I'm in a bad mood.
But like, Amanda, I think if we all just like, the therapist in me is like, if we sit in this moment, you're not wrong. And I think that's something that I have really tried to convey to my audience and why I always defer them to you when they are wanting someone with like actual expertise in this is like, it takes action and boldness and effort to build a life that feels meaningful and purposeful to you. And I think people are devastated to hear that.
Yeah. And some of this like loneliness that we're feeling and this feeling like we don't have a village and we have to go do now there's one more goddamn thing I have to do. People on the left are not any better at American exceptionalist nonsense than people on the right. We just say it in different ways. So in this thing, it's like, I mean, the village doesn't exist for a lot of reasons. We've dismantled social safety nets. We've like, you know, we make it really, really hard for women to function in society. So like, that's all true. And also people on the left have decided that anyone who doesn't agree with every single point of their politics, they're not going to speak to anymore. So we don't talk to our neighbors. We don't talk to our parents. We don't talk to, and I'm going to get DMs about this. Do not hear me say you need to like have a relationship with your abusive parents.
Exactly.
That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
If someone is harming you, that's not whatever. But like, we're so quick to call everyone a Nazi that we have driven people away a little bit from, and we don't want a village. What we want is people to do us favors and never challenge anything that we have learned or that we believe. And that's just not fair. Like that's not realistic. It's not, you know, and so I think maybe if we loosened up a little bit and worked so slowly, the village might be a little easier. It's not going to fix the social safety net, certainly. And it's not going to make like, you know, childcare affordable or anything like that.
No.
But if we were just a little bit more open-minded and a little less hyper individualistic. I actually don't have a problem with individualism. I think American culture being indexing on individualism is not necessarily a bad thing. But we on the left have indexed on it in a way that's like, well, I'm just going to get in my little bubble of 14 blue-haired liberals and we all have the same tattoos and we're going to make each other muffins and that's it. And I'm never going to speak to anyone else, you know? And like, that's not anything.
And the price of community is inconvenience.
Yes.
We have to be prepared to contribute to the community. If we are expecting everybody to like rally around us and give and help, we have to be willing to do the same. And there's no position in the group where you get to just like point fingers and identify all of the ways people are falling short.
Even if you think about like the civil rights movement was communists and really, really fundamentalist Christian preachers. Like it was a coalition of people who didn't super make a ton of sense on paper, who disagreed with each other about a lot of things, but were together on this one big thing. And I think we need kind of more of that. Like there's so much finger pointing and infighting, especially on the left. Like, are you progressive enough? Are you leftist enough? Gavin Newsom doesn't like homeless people, so when he tweets, I'm just going to get mad. It's just like all of this. We're so nitpicky. I think we've all built up these emotional walls because we've had so many losses recently.
Yes.
Clinton lost in 2016 and Biden won, but he didn't get through the stuff we really wanted in a lot of cases. And then, and now Harris. So it's just been like kind of 10 years of, ugh.
Yeah.
And so we've built up all these walls and these cages and like, no, I'm just going to my corner.
I absolutely agree. And what I tried to introduce to people all the time is I think so many of the people that I know in my life and people that I work with, and I think the community that we've built around here, they feel so overwhelmed. They want to fix it all. Right? They look at everything and they're like, every single thing that I see on the news and on my FYP and what someone shares in their stories, I have to have the same response to everything every time. And I think it adds to the overwhelm and the analysis paralysis of, well, I have no idea what to do. I know I want a community, but I want to build a community around everything all at once. And then it just kind of goes to, what is it in Mean Girls when she's like, I just want us all to be nice to each other. Like, and I love that about us because that's how I feel. Like, I'm a freaking therapist. Like, I spend all day being like, you're just amazing. Like, you're doing so good. And I truly believe it with my whole heart. But I also think we're missing this grit.
Yeah.
There is a grit and a resilience that is missing. And I think that everybody has. Well, not everybody. Most people have. But they're afraid to tap into it because it requires this very bold acceptance of reality.
But we don't need to be, I tell people all the time, like, don't be a shotgun, be a sniper with your attention. So like, I know people don't, gun metaphors confuse me. You don't have to blast at all your attention and your focus and your energy in 14,000 different directions, because that's what the administration wants you to do. Their comms director, Stephen Chung, the White House comms director, comes from professional wrestling, like the WWE. He was a marketing director for the WWE. So like the White House's policy for communications is overwhelming you with spectacle. That is the actual stated policy. Because if you are overwhelmed with by spectacle, you can never focus on one thing to do something about or build a community around. So you don't have to do you remember that episode of The Office when Michael Scott does the fun run for rabies?
Yes.
and Jenna's character is like, someone else will fix the rabies. You don't have to care about the rabies.
Right.
That is how I feel about the political situation. Like, you don't have to care about every single goddamn thing that the administration is destroying, because there are 330 million people in the country, and someone will pick up the slack on the stuff that you don't have time for. So like, pick a thing, just one thing, just pick a thing. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be reproductive rights or trans rights or resisting ICE or gerrymandering, whatever your thing is, and then go do that one thing.
What I tried to have in my content, and why I wanted to bring you on to like spotlight you as well, is you can have level-headed perspective of what is going on and still show up and fight in, as you said, like a targeted sniper type vibe that says, this is what I am going to devote my life and my energy to trying to defend, fix, rebuild. Because my firm belief is, I think 2028 is going to be fascinating. I think there could be some real record numbers if things hold the way they are.
Oh, yeah.
And, we are going to have another presidential election.
Yes.
That is going to happen. We are going to have an election in 2028. JD Vance has the personality of this Starbucks cup. In fact, this Starbucks cup, this has much more personality than he does. And I think if we collectively decided that we wanted something better, you have this amazing post from, I think it was maybe a couple days ago or last week, where you spoke about how, like, stop obsessing on wanting to go back.
Yeah.
Like, stop obsessing on this idea of like, we need to go back. And I've even got caught up in that, like in my own privilege of being like, oh, like, remember when? And you have to then be a student of history and say like, oh, it's just bad for me now.
That wasn't great either. Yeah.
Like, shoot. I'm that thing that I hate. But yeah, like, we could, and this isn't even me like asking for utopia. Like, this isn't saying that we have to all agree on the same thing all the time. Like, we could recover in a better, stronger, different way if we chose to individually focus on what truly mattered to us. Instead of owning all of this pressure and overwhelming ourselves and our nervous systems to just say, you know what, like, I just really need to focus on trans rights. I really need to focus on the LGBTQ community because my friends, my family, my neighbors, that's really important to me. I need to hone in on abortion care because I am in healthcare or I have had an abortion and I know how it changed my life for the better. I need to do that, right? Like, you are allowed to do that, and you are not abandoning people because you've made a choice and because you're operating from a logical, rational space.
Okay, so if you're listening to this episode and feeling like, oh my gosh, I could actually really use a therapist, we've got you. My practice, Therapy for Women Center, has therapists licensed in 43 states across the country. All the therapists are hired by me, trained by me, handpicked by me, and we really back and support our therapists. We vouch for them, unlike some of these big online therapy platforms. Also, if you're local to the Philadelphia area, we have 3 office locations there. So I would love for you to go to our website, therapyforwomencenter.com, and check it out.
I would also say, like, if you've got time, or if you don't want to do like issues-based activism,
Right.
you want to do something else, then I would say get involved in as locally as you can in an election. Like, what you're saying about 2028, I so agree with. Like, I don't want to be Pollyanna-ish. Like, we're going to rebuild the DNC into this beautiful,
right?
Maybe, sure, fine, whatever. But
Right.
the DNC is a national party.
Yes.
You also have like your county, and your county is going to run someone for your congressional district. Your county is going to run someone for your board of supervisors. And that person can be a young, exciting, dynamic, progressive candidate, or it can be the 75-year-old who ran last time.
Yeah.
And you get to decide that. People who yell at me about like, well, the Democrats will never, you're the Democrats. That's you.
Ooh.
So get as local as you can and push the party in the direction you think that we should land in 2028. Because if we don't start that work now, 2028 is not going to, it's going to be, bless him, I love Gavin Newsom, but Gavin Newsom is very establishment.
Yes.
He's been in politics his whole life. He's Nancy Pelosi's like nephew or some shit. So like, I'm sure he'd be a great president. I'm not saying that, but like, if you want somebody else, we need to start now. If you want somebody else to run in 2026, who maybe isn't, an 85-year-old who's been in that seat since the 90s, you need to get out there and support whoever's going to primary them, or primary them yourself.
Ooh, wow. How dare you? How dare you suggest?
I do this series every week called Choose Your Fighter, where I interview a candidate who's running for like a super hyper local position to flip a seat. So like in some red district in Iowa, somebody running to like flip a state house seat or something. And everyone I've talked to was like young, excited, progressive. A lot of people in like rural districts. There's so much excitement out there about this moment. There's so much anger and like fear and all of that. And I totally understand all of that. But there's also, this feels, I think, like an opportunity also. Like, now is the chance to build the party that we want to have, that like represents the middle class, that represents people who work for a living and don't just live off their daddy's emerald mine money, like Elon Musk does. So get out there and run for something.
What would be your insight, advice, perspective as someone who has been so involved in community politics and local politics? What would you say to someone that is wanting to get into that, or maybe is just starting and feels like kind of daunted by it?
Yeah. Again, start as locally as you can. Like, find your county or city meeting. Most of them will meet once a month. Maybe not right now because a lot of them go on summer break, but like, go to whatever the next meeting is. And here's what you will find. 9 times out of 10, you will find a room of 20 65-year-old women.
Yep.
Because those are the people who have the time and the bandwidth and who like care about building communities. It's big auntie energy. Love that. they have been, it's been the same 20 women for like 10 years, and they're all tired and we'll be so happy to see you. Please God, come in here. And almost always, unless you're talking about like New York City, like a big Democratic stronghold, you're probably going to be like immediately asked to join 14 committees. You're going to be immediately asked to start, like spinning up outreach. Like there is need for people who are not retirees
to do this.
There's a reason why we get the same people running over and over and over again. So I don't think of it as like trying to break into a country club. Think of it as like trying to enter a club that desperately, desperately wants you to just bring brownies. Like, please God, come and bring brownies.
How has showing up in that way benefited you? Like, what are some of the pros that you would highlight? Because I think it's so easy for us to sit here and be like, it's going to take time and it's going to be hard and you're going to be uncomfortable. I talk about that all the time, but I would love to hear from you directly. Like, how has this benefited you doing this work?
I think well, everyone is hilarious. So that's like, I love the 60-year-old women. But I think that the best part of it, especially for somebody right now who, if you've never if you're just like real scared and this is the first political moment of your life where you've ever paid any attention to things like that, learning how the sausage is made is like a real anxiety dampener, because then you can see like what the power dynamics are like, how candidates get picked, how state level parties decide which candidates to back and which ones to like kind of secretly abandon, and things that you could do about that. Like you start to see the pressure points. And then if you get involved in things like being a poll worker, you're not going to be someone on here in the internet, on Beyonce's internet, talking about how the election was stolen.
No.
I promise you that, because you know exactly what kind of work goes into securing elections. So it's things like that. Like along with action, I think the other antidote to anxiety is information. And getting actually involved in the machine of the party and the machine of like local elections is so much information. It's so much like, oh, I see how we got here. Because nobody showed up. Like I see how we got to a place in Congress where 3 Democrats who were 80 bajillion years old died the first half of the year. Because the people who show up are 80 years old.
Right.
So it's stuff like that. You start to see problems that can be solved. And also, like you get to know your neighbors.
Yeah.
Which is always great. I mean, I think it was Sarah McBride, who's a congresswoman. Yes, love her. Congresswoman from Delaware, who said, like, even if you lose, you should run for office because you will never get to know your community better than
doing that.
Yeah. Which I take her word for because I've never run for office. But seems right.
So do we have your commitment for 2028 or?
Nobody wants that.
I do. But anyway, first of all, nothing sends me over the edge more. And there's one content creator right now, and I'm not going to throw him under the bus, but that is really like driving home this narrative of the election was stolen.
Oh God.
And we're nobody. That's right. If you want to hurt your own feelings like that and send yourself, like, if you want to send yourself into that level of an anxiety spiral, I can't stop you. And I think that goes to like, we can be very selective with what we consume, and we can be very selective with what we choose to put our energy in. And even if it was, nothing's changing.
Nothing.
And it wasn't, by the way. But like, even if in this fantasy land, like, what? This happened. It's not changing.
He would still have to be impeached, which is not happening.
So,
and then JD Vance would be president. It's not like Kamala would swan in.
And I think JD might be worse.
I agree with you.
He
doesn't have dementia.
No, he doesn't have dementia, and I think he's ruthless. You don't get to like the arc he got to without being like deeply vicious internally. I really respect that you brought up that idea, because I think this goes back to community. Like, what are you willing to do to invest in your community? And I think this goes to like, if you attend church regularly and your congregation, you want to get them involved, like any group that you are a part of, any social group, any, group of friends that you have, I think finding anything that anyone can do that makes you feel that you are doing something to make life better. And I think that's been, I'd love to get your take on this too, because that's been the mindset shift I've tried to have for myself is I had to stop obsessing over how to fix it.
Mm.
I had to stop obsessing over like, where does the duct tape going to go? Like, we're never going to recover from this. Like, oh my God. And instead focus on like, okay, things are being broken. Things are being like unfairly treated, mistreated, whatever term you want to put to it. How do I make my life better? And for me, that shifted the type of content that I created. It shifted, you know, the word I'm looking for, the things that I cared about, the things that I focused on. It shifted the way I take care of myself better. And I just think that it's wild to me that that feels like such a radical act right now. Because to take those steps to do something like that is inherently hopeful.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people are just, that feels so vulnerable, as you've said, that people don't know how to like straddle that line. They're so afraid, even if they want to feel hopeful, that line between like, well, I have to just doom scroll. I have to just have everything confirmed that everything is awful so that I can be validated in my like anxiety.
Yeah, it changes your life, like you said.
Yeah.
Like I completely blew mine up. Like I don't even do the same job full time that I was doing 6 months ago. It does change your life. It feels like a commitment almost, and Americans are very commitment phobic, especially people our age.
We don't like that.
Yeah, it feels like a commitment. Like, all right, if I believe that there is hope in this situation, then that means that to live with myself, I have to do something about it, and that means some shit in my life has got to shift.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that. I want to scroll on TikTok.
Right.
Which I get. Everything is exhausting all the time. I understand. And yet, here we are, you know, like, and yet this is the moment.
How do you take care of your mental health through all this? And as content creator to content creator, it's a brutal world out there.
It is. I do a lot of comment filters. I came to discover pretty quickly that TikTok and Instagram have hidden word filters, which I'm obsessed with. That, you know, you can put in whatever things that people are saying to you that stress you out, and the platform will just hide those comments from you. So sometimes people say, I have the phrase, "It's cute that you think there's still going to be elections." Oh, on both Instagram.
You have that blocked.
Yes.
I'm obsessed. I love that.
I don't even see it. People get around it by saying it in other ways, and that's fine. And like, I will engage with that if need be. But like, it's stuff like that where I can't, for my own brain, I can't be inundated with doom all day.
No.
It makes me, I try to like, all right, I'm not going to look at anything on Sundays. I don't succeed very well. No. At it because I want to be of service, and so I don't want to miss anything.
Yeah,
that people are inevitably going to want like information about. So there's that pressure that I'm putting on myself. Like, my audience is great and it's not doing that to me. I am doing that to myself. But the filters are really great. I don't follow anyone. Like, people send me reels constantly. They're like, "What do you have to say about what this left-wing creator said?" I'm like, "Nothing. I don't follow. Like, I follow the wires." Like the news wires, AP and Reuters, and like some lawyers, some historians, and the cat's pushing shit off the table. And like, that's kind of it. And I don't say that to say like people shouldn't follow anyone else, but I just can't handle it. Like, I can't handle everyone else's takes all the time. Yes. I want to have my own take. Like, that's why my account is called Amanda's Takes. Like, Amanda's Mild Takes, not everyone else's doomy takes. So like, I want to think for myself. So I'm very careful about my media consumption. Oh, and I am a bodybuilder. So like, I'm in the gym constantly.
I know, I've seen that.
Slamming down heavy weights.
Based off of what you said of how like I follow very particular people and the content that I consume, and trying our best to be boundaried with consumption. Something that I advocate for all the time, and this is what I try to practice, is I only listen to people speak if they actually know what they're talking about. Oh. Which in today's world seems to be very radical.
What a metric.
Very forward thinking of me to want you to have some qualifications behind your name, because I think they give the most measured, insightful responses. And I think it's kind of like we took everybody that was from like Regents classes, honors classes, and AP classes, and we threw them all in the same bag and shook it up. And that's great that we like democratize people being able to have a voice. But we also stopped ourselves from being able to filter like, oh, I don't have to retain every single opinion that I come in contact with.
Yeah.
Like I can hear it. That person is allowed to say it. That person is allowed to think things, believe things, feel things that I don't agree with. But I don't have to be constantly absorbing that level of like cognitive dissonance and tension and frustration. I can actually just like scroll past, block people, move on in order to make any of this moderately sustainable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that is actually quite radical.
I know.
You know that. But I something that I have to fight on my accounts or in my platform is people wanting me to tell them what's going to happen.
I've seen
how
that.
How to feel about something. And I won't do either of those things. Should I be worried about, I don't know, should you? And I'm not saying that to like be a bitch, you know, like
right.
I'm saying that because like I'm not a guru. I'm a person with a history degree and an ADHD hyperfixation on American politics. Like I am here with you. We are doing this together.
Right.
I'm not going to tell you. I'm not an authority on your emotions. You know, if you think that this is a worrisome headline, then be worried. I can't, you know, I'm not going to dictate to you. And no one on this app can tell you what's going to happen. And this drives me nuts, especially people like historians, people who call themselves historians, which is a thing that I wear very loosely because I'm not an academic.
Right.
Get on Instagram or TikTok and are like, well, history tells us what's coming next is XYZ. I'm going to punch you in the neck. History doesn't tell us anything about what's going to happen ever. Like human nature does not change, but the context in which we are expressing our humanity is different every day. And you cannot tell me that just because something happened, you know, whatever, in 1945, that's what's going to happen now. That doesn't bear out. That's not real. Otherwise, we would be stuck in a time loop of the same 10 years every, you know,
right.
And that's just not what's happening. So I understand that people want security and the fear of the unknown and not knowing what's coming. Sitting with uncertainty is, I think, our biggest weakness as like a country right now. We don't know how to sit with what's going to come without having someone tell me, just give me some comfort. And like that, you have to stop doing that. I'm not going to do that for you.
Right.
And anyone else who tells you that they can do that for you, or they're selling you something.
Well, we're being forced into this like radical space of self-regulation. And people have lost that muscle. We all have. Individually, at some level, in some form, that idea of self-regulating is really, really challenging because just as you said, it requires the radical acceptance of not having certainty. And when people sense like the winds are changing or the sands beneath their feet seem to be shifting, your nervous system is designed to keep you alive. And so your nervous system feels like it's threatened and it immediately starts to search for anything to latch onto that feels predictive, permanent, stable. And I see it all the time. And I've even had people ask me, like, what do you think? And I'm like, I'm a therapist. Like, but also, you know, I mean, I kind of shoot myself in the foot with that one because I talk about history all the time. But I don't use history as a frame of reference for what is going to go wrong. I use history as a frame of reference for what is possible.
Yeah.
And I will think to myself like, wow, if people made it through that, I think I can get through this.
Yes. Amen. Yeah. We have gotten through much worse.
Yeah.
Which isn't to say that it won't get worse.
Right. We don't know. I have no idea, but it goes back to that idea of perspective and hope. Like I have to believe that even if you like it feels too big to look at this at like a collective level. even on an individual level, I refuse to believe the best years of my life are behind me. As someone who's young and, healthy, I refuse to believe that like the prime of my life has passed at 34. Like maybe it has. I have no idea. But for me, the thought that things could very well get better, that keeps me moving.
I think people are afraid of the idea that things could get better just as much as they're afraid of the idea that things could get worse.
That's going to open up a really big can of worms where I'll get really mean.
I mean, that's like...
Because what do you complain about?
Yeah, right. Or survivorship bias.
Yes.
Or, they're not bias, but the survivor guilt.
Yeah.
Like I see a lot of... I think that's the source of a lot of infighting on the left, or like purity testing on the left, is like... well, you can't speak to working class problems because you have a nice car, things like that. Like people are afraid to be happy and successful right now because then that means that, but everything is bad. So like, obviously I'm doing something wrong, or I'm a bad person, or like they spiral out on this. It's okay. Like you can have good things and have a good day and have, I'm very happy, which is like a weird thing to say right now, I think. But, and the only, actually, Republicans get really mad when I say that, which is so funny because, like, don't you want me to be happy?
Yeah,
Donald Trump's president. Shouldn't I be happy? Whatever.
No, absolutely not.
They get really mad when I say that because what they want is for you to be miserable. They want for you to be suffering because right-wing populism isn't about the success of the country. It's about punishing people you don't like. So if you are both resisting strategically and happy in your personal life, there's nothing that an authoritarian hates more. And that exact thing. So please, if I could create any sort of permission structure for people to like have hope and enjoy their life and like whatever, go get ice cream with your kids and don't let Donald Trump steal your fucking joy, then here you go. No, you don't need my permission, but there it is.
I deeply appreciate that take so much because I think people feel so afraid to live. And I think one of the biggest things that I remind people of is to live boldly. If you are a trans person, if you are a woman that has had an abortion, if you are gay, if you are single, if you are, whatever your life circumstances, to live boldly and with pride and with joy is the most offensive thing that you can do for these people. And you get to own that. In the midst of the mess, in the midst of the work, in the midst of showing up for things, you still get to live and to have passion and have things that matter to you. And I just think that is going to be key to sustaining us in this marathon that we now find ourselves.
And even not just in your own house, right? Like I've been talking about this a lot recently and I get a little bit of pushback about it, but I think that we need to live really, really loudly in their spaces.
Yeah.
Like we have let the right claim so many public spaces and even concepts. Like we let the right claim patriotism. Ugh. What? We let the Republican Party own the American flag. Like what? You can't go to a NASCAR race because you're a Democrat, like I was talking the other day about somebody asked me what the most surprising thing or like what my most surprising political opinion probably would be. And it's that like I have a lot of guns. I do. I'm from the South, baby. Yeah. Second Amendment, like, whatever, raise hell, praise Dale. And like, I think that we should reclaim a lot of those spaces and not let them push us out of public discourse and these like conservative coded things that we've let the right suddenly owns pickup trucks. Like there's this whole country music, like there's this whole swath of things that are usually associated with like the South or working class people in Appalachia that we have just let Republicans have. Yeah. And we have put ourselves into our little tiny spaces where like we do knitting or whatever. And knitting is great. And we have houseplants, but like we should be in every single space of American life because we are in every single space of American life. We just do it kind of quietly so no one will yell at us. Right. And again, don't hear me say, go put yourself in a dangerous situation. That's not what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
But if you like NASCAR, I wanted to rant about this week.
I saw that.
NASCAR is born out of running like running from the cops, bootleggers running from the cops. That's where stock car racing came from.
Right.
these are not bootlickers. That is a sport that came out of all cops are bastards. So if you like racing, go to a race. And like, you're probably going to sit next to someone wearing a Confederate flag hat and you're just going to have to buck up. But you have every right to be in that space, you know? And it seems like that like, be loud, be bold, take it back. This is our fucking country. This isn't their country. My people have been in this country 2 generations longer than Donald Trump's. Fuck you.
Amen. Amen. Amanda, I could just keep talking your ear off. This has been such a joy. And I think truly you are one of the most critical voices on the internet right now. And I don't think you get enough credit. And honestly, I put you and Sharon McMahon in the same. Oh, she's the best. Truly. Like, I think 2 totally different approaches.
She's so much nicer than me.
Said with all the love in the world. But no, I think I'm thankful and impressed that you stepped up. And I think we can all use that as an example in one form or another. And we're going to find a way through. My favorite phrase as a therapist is it will be.
It will.
It will be. And we're going to try to figure it out. And feel free to plug your pluggables now. Where can people find you?
I mean, I'm Amanda's Mild Takes everywhere. YouTube, Instagram, TikTok,
Substack.
Threads. Substack, yes. Not Blue Sky. Don't DM me about Blue Sky. I can't. It's such a doomy.
I can't do Blue Sky either.
Also, I just can't do any more things.
No.
Like I'm tapped out on things, but
no.
Or just my name, Amanda Nelson. You'll find me.
Okay. Amanda Nelson, Amanda's Mild Takes everywhere.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. This has been an honor.